Welcome to PPR podcast number 123. My name is Paul. To my right, the undisputed star and sponsor of the podcast, president of the San Diego Strike Force, former first-round draft choice, and overall just a generally good human being, Mr. Bert Grossman. Bert, who's on the hot seat today?
Christian Pedersen from San Diego Prep Insider. I think everybody knows who he is.
Well, yeah, but you have more titles than that, Christian. Go run us through all your titles, if you would, please.
Behind me is my most important title, guys, that I've ever held in my life. Is PPR Red Jacket. Thank you for welcoming me back home. I feel like Moses returning from exile. This is nice. I work also for the San Diego Sports Association, and I just generally live for high school sports right now.
And that's why
he's really cleaned up, hasn't he? He's all metrosexual now, as opposed to a picture in the background. You look all goofy at PPR back in the day, and now you're like a model. Things are good for those people.
Yeah, well, Christian, what you do is recognized by a lot of folks, and that's why this invitation is actually long overdue. Thank you for accepting it. Let's pick it up the conversation right now. The big hot debate in high school football in our section is we got these three teams that are pretty much open division teams. It looks like they're locks, barring some sort of calamity down the stretch. But that's that fourth spot. Are we going to know who the fourth rung or the fourth table placemat at the table of the open division? Are we going to know that Friday night after the Granite Hills-Madison game?
I have labeled Granite Hills as every game is a must-watch game for them. I think that this year is an interesting stress test, if nothing else, for the way that CIF San Diego section does their playoffs, because Granite and Helix, to me, both look like teams that very well could represent decently in the open division, but they both have such weak strength of schedule that they really have no room to slip. So, yeah, I think that every week that we watch Granite Hills, we'll get that much closer to knowing, because they kind of seem like the linchpin in all the different math permutations.
Well, one thing, just on the eye test, because we did their game, the first game of the season. Yeah. They're bigger than I ever remember Granite Hills being. And there were more athletes on the field than I ever remember Granite Hills having in my 25 years here.
Right now, I would say, based off of what I have seen as well, off of mostly stealing your footage and watching the PPR highlights, because you guys are the best at everything football related, is that, yeah, if I was just doing the who do I want to see eye test, I think that Helix, Granite, Carlsbad, Lincoln, that's got to be my four best teams in San Diego right now.
What do you, I mean, just to go off that on a little bit, because you see social media, everybody has their own top 10 poll. Everybody's pissed off at the top 10 polls all the time. And it's not even, there's two thoughts on who should be, 4 through 10 and who should be 1 and who should be 2. I mean, do you think, for me, it's hard because I look at, I go back and forth between Carlsbad and Lincoln every week. Who beat a better opponent? Carlsbad beat Ramona and Lincoln beat a real good opponent last year. So I have Lincoln #1 this week. But, you see a lot of teams that think they should be in there. Do you think it should all just be Division I teams? Because, these schedule differences are so big that somebody will see Cathedral and be like, you shouldn't be there. And be like, if you played their schedule and they played yours, they'd be undefeated and you'd be defeated.
Yeah, the problem seems to be that football doesn't exist in a 1 week vacuum, because we've had this for a couple years where a Bishops and with Tyler Buckner, they're a great team, but they can't sustain a true open division strength of schedule. So can we cap them at 9? Can they go to 7? Do they deserve to be the 3? I think that overall, by the end of every football season, we tend to reach that point where it is 1 through 9 are all D1 teams, and then somebody, 8 or 9 or 10 is the best of D2, 3, and whatever. I don't mind tossing a team like that if somebody is down in D2 or 3, a top 10 vote. I think, though, football tends to pan out correctly mathematically over the 10 games. Yeah, you wind up with, what are we really talking about here? Big boys play big boy football, and I don't really want to give a charity vote out to somebody just because they're 10-0 at the 5AA level.
Fair enough. Hey, before we get, just because this is completely, we don't have a game plan here when we do these podcasts. This is going to be very evident to you, Christian. But I want to acknowledge something that you did that was special, and I want to see if we can horn in on it. You honored the godfather of water polo recently, who passed away. Can you tell us about Coach? And because I saw this, you replayed your story that you did on him, right?
Yeah, we were lucky enough. First off, rest in peace to Dick Draz. For those who don't know a ton of high school water polo, which I'm assuming is most people because I see a lot of empty pools when I go to games, but Dick Draz just passed away at 94. He was I mean, literally, you can point to him being the reason that CIF high school water polo exists. Early in the 60s, when he was at Crawford, he played kind of the instrumental role in taking it from being a club sport to being a CIF sport, but then also has a coaching tree of a great redwood. Like, you can't talk to a coach in San Diego who didn't either play for him at some level or coach under him. And we were lucky enough to have him on the show in 2018, just as like he was sitting poolside. And I'm like, he tells great stories. Let's listen to his story. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody else in a different high school sport here in San Diego that has that singular of an impact in terms of shepherding it into, existence.
Hey, can I bum a couple pictures from that? Because I want to play this clip right here.
It's all yours. I'll take the logo out and it's all yours.
Well, if you could just send me any picture that you're okay with us using, I would like to play that clip because I want to horn in on that. I think that's guys like that are what make high school athletics special,
yes,
and you have to acknowledge them.
So obviously, starting in the 60s, if you do the math, it's 50 plus years. We kind of lost count at the total number of kids that had played for him over the years. It was up in the tens of thousands. He had been kind of consistently coaching up until the early 2000s. So literally a 4-decade run. And then as soon as he retired from coaching in his 70s, he switched over to reffing / just kind of mentoring everybody. And it would always conclude, and this is just to me the happy tears of remembering this man, is he would end every CIF water polo championship with, as the team is being handed their banner, he would stop everybody. Wait a minute, parents, I got a question for you. And he'd turn to the team, kind of Lee Corso-esque, and be like, how about those Knights or Lancers or whoever won the championship? And he'd get everybody going. And it just became a thing that you almost looked forward to hearing that as much as you actually looked forward to physically being handed the trophy. And that's where you just knew, like, this guy is special. For people that are in their teens and early 20s, like, they didn't know him as a coach. They just know him as a man. To have that kind of love and respect for him, that says everything.
Well done, you. Well done, you, and well done, San Diego Prep Insider.
Is horn in the same as hone in?
Well,
yeah, probably with my accent.
Horn in, like let
it's
me
hone in, not horn in.
No, it's horn in. I'm horning in on your.
Christian, is it hone in or horn in?
Oh, let's not even.
Hey, Bert, I have an art degree, so don't ask me.
It's hone in.
So
can I go back to football here?
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to I know I was going to forget that, and I had it down on my notes. I wanted to.
It's all right. I just want to get back to football. So here's my other question, because this is, for me, this is the other part that's been weird this year. At this point, I mean, we're almost at the halfway point. There's always 5 or 6 or 7 clear standouts for the Silver Pigskin this year. I can't really think of like 5 or 6 or 7 clear standouts.
I can think of a couple.
I can think of a couple, and I can think of probably 3 clear standouts, but I can't think of like 5 or 6 or 7 right now. Not that they're not good, it's just there seems to be a lot of guys that are on that same level now. If you were picking 5, who would you pick right now?
Oh, man, I don't even know about. Well, to me, the Pigskin has always been a tough one, because what do you do with, are you asking Sayin to play quarterback and linebacker just because Kevin Allen does both offense and defense? Like, it's really hard with football sometimes to be like, hey, who deserves overall greatness versus individual greatness? It's hard not to vote for a quarterback that is producing prolific, huge all-time numbers. I can mention Kevin Allen at Helix is huge. I'm still kind of waiting to see right around week 7 or 8. Like, maybe someone will have an injury and it'll help us kind of clear up, they didn't play enough of the season, or someone will have a huge couple games. But you're right, Bert, the sample size this year is without a clear, like, this is the person that everyone else is running against. And I don't envy you guys in any way, shape, and form having to make that decision in the end.
Sayin is a 5-star athlete who was on the podium last year and has done nothing to.
I'm not saying the actual winner. I'm actually saying the group up top.
I mean, Sayin would have to be shut down now and not play another down without.
Well, let me ask you this question then, just for argument. Achilles Smith Jr. is having a monster year. Lincoln beats them in the Open.
But I like that Jerome Roberts kid at Lincoln even better.
Oh, look at you. And Kevin Allen, he continues to go. How do you say no to him?
Kevin Allen, as good as Rylan is and as good as Daniels is, to me, Allen is the straw that stirs the Scotty's drink.
Oh, wow.
So you want to horn in on that?
You horned in on that one hard.
But after that, it gets a little tricky, because Mount Miguel has fell in love with the Castillo kid after he did the podcast. So there's There's a lot of different ways, and we should tell people right now it's going to be unlike other years on the Silver. No 6 kids. The show's gotten so full of content that we're going to pick 4. The people are going to pick 5, and that's pick one additional one for a total of 5. Only 5 finalists going forward.
And I think the other hard part that we have that seems all the top teams this year, the first 5 or 6 games seem to be all out-of-town teams, so we don't really get to see each other play against each other. It's not league. I mean, we don't get to. I haven't got to see that many games just because of the games we usually put on. They might be playing out-of-town teams, and we like to put 2 local teams on. So that's been a problem too.
Yeah, not knowing the relative strength of Inglewood or a St. Margaret's or something like that always adds difficulty to it, because you don't watch 3 years worth of Cajon footage to wonder how good you can win.
Hey, so how do you divide your time between San Diego Prep Insider, the Sports Association, and your other writing gigs? Walk us through one of your days. How busy are you?
Never busy. Life is good, calm, and serene. No, most of my life with the San Diego Sports Association is focused on the charitable aspects. They do the National Letter of Intent signing, the All-CIF celebration. Ron Fowler is donating a ton to help CIF with some mental health initiatives. So definitely involved in that. And then, high school sports are an after normal work hours job. So try to catch a couple games a week, be it volleyball, water polo, and whatnot. Always have a team or 2 coming through to the studio here. Try to focus, because you guys are clearly football. 7 years in, people are going, oh, hey, PPR's here. I haven't gained a single footage of traction in
that's not true.
So I try to go to the non-football. I try to talk water polo, volleyball, all that kind of stuff. And then doing stuff with Bodie DeSilva for SB Live Sports here in San Diego as they try to replace Max Preps.
It's interesting what's going on, the explosion of prep coverage that has happened here in San Diego County is a cool thing, is it not?
And it feels much needed, because I've been really concerned with how everyone from the Union Tribune has been retiring, and then their positions are getting downsized, and the kind of central hub of all of the prep coverage is you guys, plus then it's a smattering of little this here and there that are all trying to take off. I also think it's great that for a lot of these teams, they can just take it in-house now. The number of teams that have their own videographer out on a Friday night with them producing something that is 3 minutes of absolute fire it's gone up exponentially in the last couple of years. And to me, that's the biggest change in all of this, is that the teams can sort of help do it themselves a little bit. And that lets you get to know a school a whole of a lot better than just watching like the all 22 footage.
All right.
What?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is Verlain Betofe the prep version of Deion Sanders?
Yeah.
And I mean it as a compliment, obviously.
You could say him or Jason Carter are maybe competing for that role. I think they both have the personality of that. I'm a little biased because in this conversation and everything, Verlain ran into the buzzsaw of my brother-in-law, who's the defensive coordinator at Bishop's. So I'm related to the guy that beat Deion. So I'm fine with that. If you want to say that, yes, my boy Cole just shut down Deion's offense, I'll totally allow that endorsement.
Well, if you're related to anybody at Oregon, you'll be beating them 2 weeks in a row.
But yet the comparison comes in, changes the culture almost seemingly overnight.
Yeah,
changes the roster seemingly overnight.
People in the stands
hasn't started selling his backpacks. If he gets his backpack branded and he moves $1.2 million worth, or, we'll scale that down. If he moves $102,000 worth of backpacks in 24 hours, then we'll say the comparison.
All right, now if you're in Colorado or if you're a Buffalo fan, you love what's going on. But in the grand scheme of things, as it relates to high school recruiting and just the sport in general, is Deion Sanders good for football?
Yeah, hell yeah, of course.
I mean, he's the change. Whether he's good or not doesn't matter. I mean, that's what it is now, and that's what it's going to be, I think. I mean, the old school's not going.
Well, all right, let me bring it up. It's opportunities for kids to get recruited are seemingly now less, because now the deal is you just go through the transfer portal and you build your roster that way, and high school recruits become a secondary source of players.
To a degree that he's also, though, helping move it around a little bit, that maybe yes, at the very top end, you can say some Power 5 schools are becoming much more transfer heavy, but I think that's helping clear up some room at some of the lower end D1/D2 schools that maybe now lose out on some of those kids that are transferring, and there's some more actually achievable, hey, you can go to UC Davis and actually play for 4 years as opposed to riding the pine somewhere at a Power 5.
Or
that maybe it can be shifting toward.
yeah, and I mean, again, you might have the transfer portal, but there's not a lot of Deions out there that can actually attract 250, 300 5-star kids that actually want to go. I mean, unless Muhammad Ali comes back out of his grave, God rest his soul, who else is going to lure those kids out in that kind of generation? And I think that's what he does. It's like everybody's allowed to have transfers, but Joe Paterno wouldn't be getting transfers if there was transfers right now because he's Joe Paterno. Nobody wants to play for him.
Well, yeah,
He's
but
kinda this all is it's a business now, and you got to just understand that at the business level you need to succeed immediately.
Well, and I guess that's where I'd also argue, boy, I know I was delusional, but the student athlete aspect of the NC2A, which I was fraudulent from the beginning, I get that, but boy, now we're just throwing it to the side of the road and saying, hey, this is college football is business, big business, billion-dollar business.
And I think it's always been. There's always a few schools that do the student, and I don't even. That's just their
Well, how
brand.
about Notre Dame, and
do.
how about some of those schools that still pride themselves on academic success? Notre Dame, I guess, would be Wisconsin,
Stanford, teams that don't win.
That is a really uncomfortable conversation to be like true amateurism. Yeah, at the high school or at the college, as a college baseball player myself, that was amateurism. Most of us were going pro. Like at the football level and basketball level, it does seem to almost be a different thing. It's minor league professional sports.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get The Rock. You're not going to get Offset. You're not going to get Lil Wayne. It's your baseball game. I mean, that's just the way it is. And if you can pull that kind of...
even show up.
Yeah, your parents don't even show up. Exactly. So I think that's the difference. All right, I'm going back to football again.
Okay, absolutely.
All right, I have two teams that really intrigue me now. I want your thoughts on them. LCC and El Camino.
Oh, man. Another one of those, like they got to end up playing each other. So one is going to rank above the LCC. They've got Trevor Ladd. They've got some size. They've got some speed. They've got all the things that Coach Sovacool seems to really thrive on using on the offensive end. I think that week 1 against UC, we were all kind of like, okay, they seem pretty good. And then they've had a couple of scares. The Del Norte is also really competitive against that. Like LCC is interesting. El Camino is the team that I have learned, historically speaking, more than any other school. I am the absolute worst at grading and figuring out. Michael Hobbs has consistently proved me wrong that he can take a 6-4 team and win a championship with it. So I guess of those two, I lean a little bit more towards El Camino because they seem to, for whatever reason, have that, like, we can take a couple regular season losses and still figure it out in the playoffs, special sauce figured out there.
And you think, I mean... That's sad because we went to Cathedral and they're 1-3 or 1-4 at the time.
Now
and,
they're 1-4.
Yeah, and all they were talking about, they didn't care about Division One. And that's a different standard, I guess. All they cared about was the kids wanted to be in the open or want to be in the open. So some of these teams, it seems like, are okay with one and they shoot for one, and some of them just gotten to the point where it's open or else our season's a failure.
Yeah, certainly that mentality exists where you talk about that cream of the crop, that upper. And I like that. I like that some teams are, if we end up 6th in the county, that's a massive disappointment because I think that's how you create teams that then go on to win state championships and really shine outside of San Diego. But it does perennially leave D1 as there's always 1 or 2 teams that kind of clean up the slop and house a championship.
All right, last question. Ready?
No,
it's for both of you.
Oh, but I want to finish up with Cathedral's record now with that loss to Helix. They're out of the open division conversation, right?
Yeah.
Are we agreed on that?
Yes.
They can run the table right now, and they still are going to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Most surprising team, almost halfway point, whether it could be good or bad or anything else. Who do you got so far that you didn't see coming? Bad, good, you.
That's for me. You probably got to go, even with the loss last week, was Mount Miguel. If not them, I'll go with Oceanside. Complete unknown in terms of having a new coach come in, and he's brought the hype and he's brought the culture and he's seemed to say all the right things, but you never know how long that transition process is going to be. And they're down a couple divisions because they have been depleted the last couple years. The success that they've had early in the season, though, I've put them back in my conversation for they could be in a deep playoff run even in D2. So I got to say Oceanside.
That's you, Paul.
Well, I mean, I would concur because they've done it so quietly. I guess the team that surprised me is Mission Hills. After losing that game at Granite Hills, I thought, oh man, that's going to be a long year for Chris Hauser.
I did too.
And they're suddenly right back in the conversation, and they're going to make a vie for the open division. So I'd say Mission Hills a little bit. And I'd go back to Granite Hills. I've never seen a Granite Hills team. I was very surprised. That's the first time I'd, obviously seen them, from start to finish in a ball game. And I thought, wow, they have some players up front. They have some talented kids. The freshman quarterback, I thought, whoa. Yeah. When did this happen? What got in the water? And I remember talking to Coach Cobbs, and he had this quiet confidence that I thought, whoa, he's talking like a guy who knows he has some players. And I like that, it's largely a neighborhood team. And so those would be my picks first.
Yeah, Granite, for just a second, I think you're right that week one result against Mission Hills absolutely has switched from being a concerning thing for Mission Hills to being a really proving game for Granite to be good. And also, I'll say last year, their championship game against Ramona was one of the most thorough start to finish team in control of a championship that I've ever seen. And when I was looking up and down that roster going, man, they are not losing a whole lot next year. Sky's really the limit. You got to think that they are achieving exactly what they set out to do over that course of pay. The class 24 and 25, you're going to really succeed here.
And I'll be the first to admit, I kind of looked past what they did last year. I just wasn't on my radar screen. So I think they would be insulted if I said they were a surprising team, because what's surprising about a state championship team,
Yeah.
Well, have you not figured out that no matter what any of us ever say on here, it's somehow insulting to someone?
No, please.
Ain't that the truth?
You would not trade your email for mine any day of the week. Oh.
I get no emails, pretty much. I don't get any.
And I can't tag you on Instagram anymore. Did you do something with your Instagram?
I did not.
I can't. You must be blocked.
I blocked you. You've been blocked. If you mean that,
hey,
I blocked you.
You brought up San Diego Sports Association walk, because I think one of the most fun days of my calendar year is horning in on your party and signing day. Could you talk a little bit about how I know that was. Steve got that thing started long ago, and now you've taken it to a whole nother level. Talk about signing day and how it's evolved now with the changing of the rules, and how it used to be some clear-cut signing days. Now there's 4.
Yeah, signing day has gone from signing day to sort of signing period. There still is the November 9th date that feels kind of authentically like that original concept of signing day, because most of the sports can sign beginning on that period moving forward. So yeah, the San Diego Sports Association, when we had the Hall of Champions in Balboa Park, it was always great to be hosting people there. Now we've branched out, found a couple of different venues recently, but it just winds up being bigger and bigger every year, largely because we seem to have more talent coming out every year. We get, and I know you're there every year, so I'm kind of rehashing it for just the viewers out there. We get like 300 something kids spanning 30 something sports, going to 200 different colleges. It's crazy when you're like, hey, I didn't know Rancho Bernardo had an equestrian program, or I didn't know that this school had a track team. Like, you see kids coming in there and being like, I'm going to this college. It's just such an overwhelming day where you realize, my goodness, there are so many high school seniors who are such excellent student athletes that have gotten these incredible opportunities to go play and learn at that next level, that it's kind of overwhelming soaking it all in when you're there. I know you've talked to you try to bang out 20 interviews every single one of those, and that still just barely scrapes the talent of future major leaguers, WNBA stars, D1, national champions, all those kind of crazy interviews you've had on those days.
I got lost looking at his shirt. I kept looking at all the different.
But along those, what do you attribute that to, Christian? Is it great coaching, great weather, all of the above?
I've got to assume that the first person I'm supposed to attribute that to is the parents, and otherwise they're going to come screaming in our emails and DMs. But yeah, I think it's obviously sunny San Diego. You can play year round. I think it's also. Yeah, there's a fair amount of people out here that if you go to some of these high school programs, there's some coaches that put in some really significant hours to help these kids out.
Let me add one more category to that conversation. Club sports. Has club sports changed? I mean, kids are getting specialized so early now.
Horn in on that, Christian.
I think that if I could take a baseball bat and destroy the entire apparatus of club sports, I would. Just because... look at Tyreek Hill in the off season. He was in a semi-pro track meet. Some of these guys who get to the NFL were also great baseball. Like really at the top level, multi-sport athletes end up picking a sport, but you give them the whole year. Go have fun. Go do different stuff. I understand the benefits of you can get better at football if you play 7-on-7. You can get better at basketball if you play AAU all year round. But I think high school sports is large enough that a lot of people are kind of getting conned out of their time, that you're not really a D1 bound prospect. So don't let somebody bully you into having to play off season when you could go have a great time playing a different sport that you're only going to get to do for a couple years.
Well, then you're going to hate the prep football league that's coming to San Diego, the 11-on-11 league.
No, look, hey, it's not a hate thing, because I do understand that sometimes kids just want to play football, and that's why I am not in charge of any of this, and I'm never going to be the CIF commissioner. I'm always just going to be someone screaming on the internet. But I played 3 sports in high school, and I don't think that it held me back from anything. It gave me a chance to mentally do all this stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm an optimist, and I always want kids to have the best, hey, kumbaya, let's have some fun experiences, as opposed to, you're all going to be future D1 athletes. Work.
Bert, is the Prep Super League going to be a big hit?
I don't know. I have a call with him this afternoon. I'll let you know.
He's calling you?
Yeah,
Hoover and Shaker there,
kind of.
Bert.
You've been involved? What, to get money out of the deal?
No. Just to help with the logistics of San Diego. Why are you trying to out me all the time?
No, because you're working against your employer right now.
So, changing the subject. I can see you as CIF commissioner. Joe Hines has a similar shirt to that I've seen him wear.
Joe Hines maybe has the worst of all the DMs and emails compared to both of us.
Oh, God, I've seen some of them.
Yeah, that's a thankless job. And only he could do it as well as he does it. I mean, that's...
Former lineman, man. You got to love the linemen. They're built different.
He doesn't get upset ever.
I can't believe you guys...
Have you ever seen him get mad?
No. I can't believe you guys get bad emails. Where have I been? You forward me one every once in a while.
You don't even open your email. All right, well, Christian, we're going to let this go. Just, do you have any fond memories of your PPR days at all?
Oh, man. So I came fresh-faced, straight out of journalism school, got the thrill of my life receiving the email back from Rick Willis saying, yes, sure, you can work for us for free. Come hang out. But no, it was Pablo Espinal, who still is one of your best cameramen, and I got paired up that year, and it was the craziest, most rewarding experience of my life, because basically people don't understand, Paul. You put so much faith and trust in your Red Jackets to go out and deliver a product that they're going to represent you well, they're going to represent the brand, and that they're going to deliver, that it's almost like you just get handed the keys to the kingdom, and you're like, go have fun, go be on a Friday night, and walking around and people being like, hey, go do something with the cheerleaders, the photo behind me that night at Hilltop, I ended up getting shot into the air by the cheerleaders to do KUS, like a 15-second teaser for you guys. And that, combined with seeing the absolute magical chaos that is you putting that show together in 36 minutes before it airs, it told me what the golden standard was. So all of my time, all 11 and a half weeks there, are some of the best that I've ever had.
Did you practice? He read that off a teleprompter.
Yeah,
you practiced that. I can see you reading it right now.
I sent him 3 corrected versions.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've horned in on enough of your time. Young man, thank you so much for doing this. Well, I don't know how you probably don't catch our thing, but we'll start putting excerpts.
Get out of here with that. I watch everything.
All right, we will put up on YouTube later today, and then we will. I need you to please send me some pictures. If you send them to me
right now, I'll do the Dick Draz stuff. Yes,
because I want to. That's one of the clips I want to put up on Twitter. So I thank you, and just know that everybody who knows you respects you, because you're working very hard for the kids.
Hold on.
Well, all right.
Hang on. What's going on?
Things.
What's going on?
Always got to finish with "Go Vikings, baby."
Oh, God.
Go boy.
Bravo. PPR podcast number 123 is now concluded. Turn off the machines.